Welcome. This presentation will guide you through content area tutoring and lesson plan. This assignment will prepare you to use information about the learning teaching context and individual student differences to set goals and objectives, plan instruction, and assess learning. Set specific, challenging, varied, and appropriate learning goals and objectives, and design instruction for specific learning goals and objectives, student characteristics and needs, and learning contexts. For this assignment, you will choose a student at the grade level specified by the syllabus. You will tutor this one reading client. Each session must be 1 hour or 60 minutes long. The layout of the tutoring sessions will be diagnosis of reading level difficulty, planned instruction based upon results of the first session, and a post-assessment. Each session with the reading client or the student you are tutoring for content area reading will use the provided lesson plan format. Each lesson plan has 9 basic components. These are the overview, objectives, standards, materials, anticipatory set, teaching procedures, closure, assessment, and reflection. For the lesson plans you turn in each week before working with your student, you will have completed the first 8 components. Now let's look at each component individually. The overview contains the following basic information: your name, the instructor's name, the content area you're tutoring in, the book title, and remember to always italicize book titles, the chapter number if you're using a textbook, the page numbers, and the topic you are tutoring in. Objectives are written using Bloom's verbs and contain the ABCDs of objectives. A stands for audience, B stands for behavior, C stands for condition, D stands for degree. In all the lessons I've ever graded, the degree is usually what is missing. For the standards section, you will use the Common Core standards found on the Indiana Department of Education website. I suggest bookmarking this website in your favorites list if you haven't done so already. For the standards, I want the number and the standard written out. I do not have all the standards memorized, and a random number tells me nothing. In the materials section, list everything you will need for the lesson: paper, pencils, book title, etc. If you printed off something from the web to use, include the website address. You may not use internet games in your lesson. While there are good internet games, the purpose of tutoring is not to watch the child play a game on the computer. The anticipatory set, also called an opening activity or introduction, is used to create excitement and interest in the lesson. It focuses the student's thoughts on what will be learned during the lesson. In reading, the anticipatory set sets the stage for the text the students will be reading that day. By definition, an anticipatory set is a short activity or prompt that stimulates prior knowledge before the actual lesson begins. When creating your anticipatory set, it will be designed to have direct relevance to what is being read. Your anticipatory set will have 4 major components. The first component is using one of the 5 senses. Have something in your opening that engages either hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, or tasting. The second component is mystery, imagination, or drama. Be dramatic and generate high energy for both the book and the student. Placing your props in a mystery bag is an easy way to generate mystery and suspense. The third component is the use of props. The use of props heightens the student's interest in the story. Finally, at the close of your anticipatory set, before you go on to your teaching procedures, you will have a foreshadowing statement that hints at how the props relate to the book. Generally, an anticipatory set takes about 5 minutes. Remember to be creative. It doesn't have to be boring. An anticipatory set is never only looking at the cover of the book or the first picture of a chapter and guessing what the reading might be about. In the teaching procedures, you will write down step by step in great detail what you plan to do after the anticipatory set, but before the closure of the lesson. This section will be the longest part of your lesson plan. Each lesson will have a pre-reading, vocabulary, guided reading, post-reading, and writing activity. You will have to plan your activities carefully. Some activities take a lot of time to complete and others don't. While you may use activities from the internet, you must use activities from the course textbook, as this will help you with other assignments for the course. The closure is how you plan to wrap up the lesson. Reviewing the key concept of the lesson is a popular closure, with a teaser about what will happen next time. This section usually only takes about 1 to 2 minutes, but it is important. In the assessment section, you describe how you plan to assess the objectives of the lesson. Will you use formative or summative assessments? How will you gather the data to prove a successful lesson? You must have an assessment for each objective of your lesson plan. If you have 3 objectives, you will have 3 different assessments. So far, everything in the lesson plan has been completed before tutoring. The reflection, not written on the lesson plan, is completed the evening following the tutoring session. There are 5 basic components of an average reflection. First, including the student interest in the lesson. Was it high, medium, or low? You can determine this by observing the student's behavior during the lesson or asking the student at the end of the lesson. Second, documenting the student's missed calls while reading aloud. Are there certain words that the student misses a lot? Are there words that the student misses frequently over time? These words can become words to use in the vocabulary activities. Third, what went well? Even the worst lesson has something that went well, or the best thing about the lesson. Fourth, what didn't go well, or what didn't go as well as planned? Even the best lessons have something that didn't go well or as well as planned. What was it for this lesson? Finally, what would you change and why? Teachers are forever tweaking their lessons. What would you tweak or change about this lesson, and why would you make that change? Somewhere in either what went well or what didn't go as planned, discuss how the student did on the assessment. Give the statistical results, the percent or the number correct, incorrect, out of the number possible. Now let's discuss the actual tutoring. Before the first session, search the internet for an interest inventory that will yield numerical data and can be given again as a post-assessment. One example is the Garfield survey. Days 2 through 5 will be lessons you prepare in your content area for your tutoring student. The lesson plans must be turned in before you tutor your student. Day 6 is the post-assessment day. Re-administer your pre-assessments. This data will be used along with your assessment data of your lesson plans in your case report assignment.